Welcome to week 9 of the Summer Stitch Sampler Knit Along. This week we are working moss stitch, which depending on where you live, you may actually call American moss or Irish moss. But here in the US we just call it moss stitch. It's one of those quirky knitting terms that changes depending on where you go. So as you can see, I've already worked up a swatch in Caron Simply Soft. The colorway is Watermelon. I've also worked 2 stockinette stitches on either end, as well as 2 stockinette rows to begin with. So if you're just here to learn the stitch, you don't need to do these. But if you're here for the knit along, these are part of the blanket. So you'll want to include those. Okay. So my swatch is 24 stitches across. I am actually starting on row 3. And I don't think you guys will mind because this is a pretty simple stitch. And get my yarn in the correct position. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to knit 2, those are the edge stitches that I mentioned, and then I'm going to begin the pattern. So I've done row 1 and 2 right here, and you can tell because I've got 2 knit stitches. So whenever you're on the right side, because this can be done over any number of stitches, on the right side, if you're coming up on a knit stitch, you're actually going to purl it. So do the opposite when you're on the right side. And you're just going to work across either knit 1, purl 1, or purl 1, knit 1 all the way across. Almost there. Okay, and those last 2 stitches, we are going to knit those because that's part of the edge. So that's row 3. Okay, and when you turn, now we're on the wrong side, which looks exactly like the right side, except for the edge stitches that I put in. So if you are using this in another project, it's completely reversible. And it doesn't just look pretty on the other side, it looks exactly the same on the other side. It's 100% reversible. So to get started on this row, I'm going to do my edge stitches, which because I'm on the wrong side, they're purl stitches. And then because I'm on the wrong side, I'm going to do whatever I see. So right here is a purl stitch. I'm going to purl that stitch. Here's a knit stitch. I'm going to knit it. And I'm going to repeat all the way down. And so what you essentially are doing is you're working 2 rows of knit 1, purl 1 ribbing. And then you're breaking up that rib by doing purl 1, knit 1. For those of you that are familiar with seed stitch, which is what you call a moss stitch in the UK, we're just going to get all mixed up with our stitches today. But seed stitch is almost the same. This is sort of an elongated seed stitch. And I'll put a link to a video about seed stitch in the comments as well if you want to compare the 2. Oops. Okay, and those last 2 stitches are the edge stitches, so I'm purling those. Right, so as you can see, that continues the pattern, and we're back with row 1. And so row 1, we'd knit our 2 edge stitches and then do a knit 1, purl 1 across. So that's it. It makes a beautiful all over texture. Hopefully you will enjoy the way it looks in your blanket. After week 9, we've only got 3 weeks left, and then the border, and we are done. So celebrate being 3/4 of the way done when you finish this section.